Around 11:30 at night, Hialeah police received a phone call from a 13-year-old male, a juvenile, stating that he had just murdered his mother. He did not say why he did this. All he did was call 911 and advise what he did.
He was part of a normal family. I never saw any arguing or police there. This is very calm here. This is the first time something like this happened. This was the first time I saw police here.
Right now, what we're understanding is that no, there is no other calls. We're hearing from family that he was a good kid, honor roll student at school. There's no history of mental health. So right now we're just trying to figure out why he did this.
Derek Rosa, the 13-year-old who stabbed his mother to death, was in court last week for an evidentiary hearing. This hearing was at his lawyer's request. They wanted to present evidence that it is against Mr. Rosa's constitutional rights to be held in the big boy jail, the big house.
Going to the clinker, the big house.
Versus going to the juvenile detention center. In today's video, we're going to listen to Derek Rosa's confession in his own words when he spoke with police after his arrest. And we're also going to hear testimony from the lead detective in this case. Thank you for being here and hit that like button. Let's get into it.
You cut her neck? Okay. Where else did you stab her other than that cutting her neck? Where is your sister?
She's in her crib sleeping. I did not kill her.
How old is your sister?
She's only like a week old.
Okay, and you did not touch her, correct?
No, I did not touch her. I didn't want to touch my sister.
I need to know if your mom is breathing.
She said, miss, I have the gun with me. I was going to shoot myself, but I didn't want to. I pulled back the slide, but I did not shoot.
I need to know, do you think we can help your mom?
Miss, she's dead. I have more family members. They can take care of my sister. I took pictures, and I told my friends about it. Was that bad?
You told who about it?
My friends.
Your friends? Did you send pictures to your friends of what you did?
Yeah. I didn't delete the pictures off my phone, but I sent them to him. And I told him that I was sorry, and then I stood by. I'm okay. I'm really sad.
I understand. We're here to help you, okay? We're going to help you. We're going to help your sister, okay?
That is yet somehow relevant based upon this, but no, not those 6 minutes. I think it's disingenuous and it's unfair. I think the rule of completeness and fairness should be that we hear the whole thing. And lastly, Judge, the press and saying that, again, a sword and a shield argument that, well, this could be bad for the defendant if it comes out, and yet there are press conferences held by a defense team. It just doesn't seem fair.
Okay, let me return to something you said. Early on, I was told by you guys that the doctor was basing his opinion, at least in part, upon what he observed from the statement, as well as the records from the jail, etc. I'd be surprised that if the statement were available for his review, that he wouldn't look at it in formulating opinions. That would be like ignoring something that would be directly relevant to him determining the mental state of the defendant. Okay, so I'm not going to need to hear from the press because I'm going to rely upon State versus Wooten. The only thing you're pressing here are two arguments. One is Chapter 119, the Public Records Statute, 119.07, which talks about the exemptions from public records. Well, the state cannot be forced to turn it over to the press, but they've given it to you, which now takes it and puts it under 2.420, which is the public records of the court. And I wholeheartedly endorse Judge Levine's opinion in Wooten, which said Chapter 119 is all very nice, but it doesn't control the public records of the court. That's the first thing. You're concerned about, and my personal feeling and philosophy is, the more transparent we are in court, the more legitimacy and respect we foster. And we have a mission to foster legitimacy and respect of the courts, because that's what helps to give legitimacy to our government. If we are not open for complete access and transparency, then we suffer. It's just my thought. Now, as I take your second argument, that you might not want to taint a potential jury panel that could be out there, that's a valid concern. We'll see if anybody gets tainted when we start picking a jury in this case, because that's the way it's done. We determine whether we need to transfer the case somewhere else or change venue, but that's not going to happen in this case for a while. Okay. So I'm inclined to go ahead and let you put that in. Your motion for a protective order to keep Mr. Rosa's confession out of the public eye is denied.
Judge, may I say something?
You sure can.
On Dr. Cooper's for record purposes. I just want to be very clear that Dr. Cooper's would only testify on the video to the extent that the state introduces the video to show by a non-expert, for example, the detective or us, but we're not psychiatrists, we can't gauge maturity level based on that video. So to the extent that that wasn't an evidence, Judge, to the extent that that testimony that Your Honor was inclined to allow that, then I was going to ask Dr. Coopers about his opinions on it. But everything that Dr. Coopers was going to testify on was, again, isolation, idleness, and the effects, psychological, physiological, on juveniles.
Well, I don't need a doctor to tell me that. You've given me reams of studies that show it's inappropriate to put a child into solitary confinement. Dr. Coopers is just one of the dozens of experts that have written on this. Your record is complete in terms of the care that we need to take when we house or detain a juvenile. I've got that. I'm not sure I need to, I'm happy to hear from Dr. Coopers on the generic, if you will, subject matter of detaining a juvenile. I thought you wanted to put him on the witness stand because he had reviewed the specific materials concerning Mr. Rosa, including the materials that you want me to keep confidential or private or out of view. You want to give them, you've given them to your expert. He may have opinions that are based, at least partially based upon this. In fact, if he's going to give opinions about Mr. Rosa without having looked at that, his opinions would be very suspect to me, because he would have the best evidence to look at this young man at a time when he was talking freely with the police about what he had done. Any psychologist who would pass up that opportunity in attempting to gain knowledge about the mental status and mental health of your client would lose a lot of credibility. Do you follow what I'm saying?
I do, Your Honor. Okay.
What do you want to do?
I'll leave it up to Mr. Lewis. I just wanted to speak on that one point on Dr. Cooper's. Thank you.
Shall we hear from your witness?
Yes, thank you, Judge.
Okay.
The state calls Detective Josephine Lassigny. Where would you like him to?
All right, where Mr. Lewis is right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you know?
Right here. Please, right? Okay.
Do you need the phone numbers of the
No.
Okay.
I have it. Somebody has it. Right here? I have it.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Detective. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Were you assigned the lead detective of the murder of Marina Garcia on October 12th or in the early morning hours of October 13th of this year?
Yes, I was.
In that capacity, in investigating this case, did you ever learn the phone number for the defendant's father?
Yes.
Did you also learn the phone number for the defendant's grandmother?
Yes.
Showing you what you marked as state's identification 1W. The newest records. Your Honor, there is a business record certificate for the hearsay objection, but Detective, could you tell me, do you know what the defendant's father's phone number is?
Yes, are those records in evidence now?
Judge, they're not. I'm not showing it to him now. I was just showing it for Your Honor that there's a business record certificate, which I would move into evidence now as an exception.
Those are the phone records between the 5th and the 12th?
Right.
But
The 7th and the 12th.
From the 7th to the 12th.
Okay. Do you have an objection to those?
No, Your Honor.
Admitted.
State's Exhibit 1W, marked for ID, will become State's Exhibit number 6. Judge, do you want to see them?
No.
Okay.
Here. Do you have the phone number for the defendant's father?
Yes, I'm going to reflect to my notes here. And the defendant's father's number is, do you want me to say it?
Yes.
Okay, it's area code 954.
You know, Judge, we don't have to put on the record, but I
You
just
don't
want
need to publish a phone number other than...
I'll show this, Judge. I'm going to show you page 2 of 3 of this record. Let's look, for example, at line number 24. Is the phone number for the destination number of line 24 in this exhibit the defendant's father's number?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And then for reference, let's look at line number 20 under destination number. Is that phone number the only other phone number there? Is that the phone number that you have for the defendant's grandmother?
Yes, it is.
Do you have that exhibit now, Ms. Tyler?
And when you looked at that, did you see that 15 of those calls were to...
Judge, in publishing the records, just so the court, to put the court's attention where it needs to be, if you look down at line 16, the very first call, which was at 5:25 p.m. on the 7th, that is the very first phone call.
All right, that's the
and then
number.
every call thereafter, continuing on page 2 and into page 3, is either the father's phone number, which was just given, or the grandmother's phone number.
Okay.
With the exception of one call which seems to have a missed digit, and it wasn't completed.
All right. And apparently they don't let you talk for longer than 30 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Detective, that evening, was the defendant, Derek Rosa, taken into custody by the Hialeah Police Department?
Yes, he was.
And was he transported from the scene somewhere?
Yes.
Where was he taken?
To the Hialeah Police Department Homicide Office.
And were you there at the Hialeah Police Department Homicide Office in the early morning hours of, may I have that one exhibit? Yes. Of the 13th?
Yes, I was.
Showing you what's been marked for identification, just 1 second, as 1F.
I'm going to object to the introduction of this. Same objection.
That's the photo of him with the other officers?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is this a fair and accurate depiction of what the Hialeah Police Department Homicide Office looked like that night on 10/13/23?
Yes.
And do you recognize the people in this?
Yes.
State moves 1F into evidence.
Okay. Over your objection on relevance?
On relevance, on grounds.
Well, relevance is one ground. You have others.
Yes, sorry. No foundation, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Overruled.
State's Exhibit 1F, marked for ID, will become State's Exhibit number 7.
Thank you. Showing you what's in evidence now, State's Exhibit 7. Who is the person on the far left of this image?
That is Homicide Detective Wilbur Gonzalez.
And about how tall is Wilbur Gonzalez?
I would say about 5'10".
Okay, is it fair to say he's a grown man?
Yes, he is.
And who's the person in the middle of the image?
That is the defendant?
Okay, that's Mr. Rosa?
Yes.
Okay. And who's the only other person on the far right of the image?
That is the patrol officer who transported him to the station.
And is he also a grown man?
Yes.
Are they all relatively the same size in this picture?
Yes.
Does Your Honor want them published or no? To Your Honor.
I've seen that one.
Okay. Once he was transported to the Hialeah Police Department, was he taken into an interview room?
Yes, he was.
Were you in that room?
Yes, I was.
Was a statement given by him?
Yes.
Had you had, showing the defense 1A? It's on a flash drive, Your Honor. I've already put that on my computer just so it's not a delay, but may I show you what's marked as States 1A? Is that your signature here?
Yes.
Okay. And what date is here?
12/1/23.
On that date, were you able to confirm that what's on the flash drive is the complete interview of the defendant?
Yes.
At this time, the state moves 1A into evidence.
Okay. I've heard your objections. I've ruled on your motion for protective order. I believe it's now relevant because of your provision to a doctor that you tell me still you intend to utilize his opinions that bear upon this defendant's mental health and mental status. So not allowed in over objection.
State's Exhibit 1A, marked for ID, will become State's Exhibit number 8.
Well, Judge, I tested it earlier and it was working. Right now, I'm not sure how to get it on the screen because it is on. There we go. Let me just close this one. Can you already see this? May I publish on it?
Yay.
Restart. Have us right there, please, if you can.
I'm pausing at 1 minute and 17 seconds. Detective, is this in the left of the screen you?
Yes.
And who was the other adult that was speaking right before Mr. Rosa sat down?
Detective Wilbur Gonzalez.
And is this timestamp on this accurate? Was it at 2:39 in the morning on October 13th that this was taken?
Yes.
How's it going there? I'm Detective Gonzalez. This is Detective Rosa. I'm just gonna go over a couple things with you first. Just for the record, today's date is Friday, October 13, 2023, and the time is currently 2:40 a.m. And this is in regards to the case.
Joe? Yeah, the case number is going to be 2023-02953, an incident that happened at 211 West 79 Place, apartment number 201.
For the record, my fax number is 1527.
And minus 95.
You go to school, right? What grade are you in? 8th grade. 8th grade. Good student? A's and stuff like that? What reading class are you in right now? You know? What do you think? Language arts? Okay. So you can read with no problem? Okay. I'm gonna read you something first, and then you can read it afterwards. Okay? Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court. If you have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions, and to have a lawyer present with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you desire. If you decide to answer these questions now without a lawyer present, you still have the right to stop answering at any time or until you talk to a lawyer. Waiver of rights. I have read the statement of my rights and I understand what my rights are. I am willing to make a statement and answer questions. I do not want a lawyer at this time. I understand and know what I'm doing. No promise or threats have been made to me. No pressure or coercion of any kind has been used against me. Okay? If there's...
Okay. This is the formal language, okay? Now, I want you to follow, actually to read here. Okay, read this little dot right here. Yes.
Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights, yours.
Okay, you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and initial this little dot for me. It means that you understand that. Yeah, just your initials.
I have initials. That's your name.
Okay. What's your name? Right here. Okay, read the second line.
You have the right to remain silent.
Okay, you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, write your name again if you understand that. Okay, read this line right here.
Anything you say can and will be used against you in court.
Okay, you understand that? Go ahead, the same procedure, just go ahead and put your initials. Or your signature. Go on to the next line.
You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions, and to have the lawyer present with you during the questioning.
Okay, you understand that? Go ahead and okay. Now right here.
If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning, if you so desire.
Okay. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Signature. And this right here.
If you decide to answer questions, now that a lawyer present, you still have the right to stop answering at any time, or until you talk to a lawyer.
Okay, go ahead and initial right there. Okay, now read this whole paragraph.
I have read this statement of my rights, and I understand what my rights are. I am willing to make this statement and answer questions. I do not want a lawyer at this time. I understand and know what I'm doing. No promises or threats have been made to me. No pressure or
coercion. That is that we're forcing you to do something. You understand? Whatever you're doing on your own voluntarily basis, making an educated decision for yourself. Okay.
Okay.
Keep on.
Of any kind has been used against me.
Okay. Now, we are investigating an incident that happened, where you called the police, okay? Before we ask you any questions, we want to make sure that you know this. And if you want a chance to explain yourself, the only way that we would be able to take your statement is if you agree to talk to us without the presence of an attorney. If you do, go ahead and sign right here.
What's that, sir?
An attorney is someone that can represent you in legal matters. Okay?
Do you know what a lawyer is?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, same thing. By you signing that, you're wanting to give us a statement without the presence of the lawyer. You understand that?
Yes.
Is that your wish?
That's my wish.
Okay.
Can you say your last name, Jim?
If at any time while we're talking to you, you have any questions or something, or don't understand something, please let us know, okay? Okay, you want to write your name right up here? Okay. I'm going to write the case number here. 02-8953 HPD. The date?
10/13/2023, and the time is 2:46. Derek, can you state your full name for the record?
502.
Yeah, everything your full name.
Derek Stephen Rosa.
What's your date of birth?
August 26, 2010.
What's your address?
I have no address.
Okay. What's your telephone number? You don't know either?
No.
Okay. What type of phone do you have?
An iPhone.
An iPhone? What color is it?
It's blue.
It's blue?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you lived in that apartment there?
Since I was 11, so 2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
Okay. Who lives there with you?
My mom, my sister. She's ahead. My mom has a daughter a week ago.
Okay.
I stepped in.
What's your sister's name?
Ashley Ramos.
Okay. And your stepfather, do you know his name?
Yes.
What's his name?
Frank Ramos.
Frank Ramos. Okay. Derek, let's start with this morning. You slept at your house last night, right?
Yeah.
Do you go back and forth between staying with your mom and your dad, or not? Or do you usually just live with your mom?
That's really hard to explain. One weekend, I'm with my mom, and the other weekend, I'm with my dad. I'm with my dad the whole week, only
weekends.
And I like weekends.
Where does your dad live? You don't know? But is it in Miami, down here somewhere?
It's in Broward.
In Broward?
Yeah.
Okay. But last night you slept at your mom's house?
Yes.
Okay. You got up this morning and...
I went to my bus, a school bus.
You went to your school bus?
Yes.
What school do you go to?
I'm at Middle High.
I'm at Middle High?
Yeah.
Okay, that's over there on 20th Street, right?
Yes.
And what grade are you in?
8th grade.
8th grade? Honor classes? No. So, tell me about your day at school. Regular day at school?
I didn't do too much work.
You didn't do too much work?
No.
Regular release day, time, stuff like that? How do you get there, bus?
Yeah.
Okay. You got back?
On bus.
On bus?
Yes.
Okay. And then, you were home the whole day? Or did you leave?
I stayed home after school.
You stayed home after school?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into what happened tonight. Were you, do you communicate with people over the phone? Were you talking? Tell me what happened tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Well, at around like 10. I went to bed.
Okay. Is that your regular time? 9?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys explain to me about the apartment. You have your own room?
Yes.
And your mom?
Yes, she has her own room.
She has her own room, and your sister?
She stays in the same room as my mom.
Stays in the same room as your mom? And tonight, who was all there?
Me, my mom, and my sister.
Okay. So you went to sleep around 10?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what?
I woke up and went to the kitchen. I grabbed one of the kitchen items, and then I went to her room, and then I ate.
It's okay, you can say it.
I killed her.
You killed her? Alright. What type of knife was it? Do you know?
It was a big size kitchen knife.
That big?
Yeah.
What color was the handle?
Purple.
Purple?
Yes.
Okay. Your mom was sleeping?
Yeah, she was sleeping.
Okay. Explain to me. Well, we'll get into that a little later. What did you do after you killed her?
My stepdad has, he owns 2 guns. He has a Glock 19.
Okay.
And then, I don't know what to call it, another one.
Okay. What color are they?
The Glock 19 is black, and then the other one has a silver slide and then like a dark bluish handle.
Okay. So, what did you do with the guns?
He always has his Glock 19 with him at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And since he's a truck driver, he wasn't at home this far away.
Okay.
So I went into the closet.
Mm-hmm.
I found, because he goes shooting at gun ranges.
Okay.
I got the guns. I put the magazine and the guns.
Okay.
I go back to start, but I didn't want to shoot myself.
Okay.
I intended to shoot myself before, but I couldn't.
Okay. And then what did you do?
I just said for my friends to tell them I have, and I said goodbye to my friends.
You called them before you decided to try to shoot yourself, or afterwards?
After.
Okay. How many friends did you call?
Only one.
What's his name?
I don't know the name. He's an online friend.
He's an online friend?
Yeah.
When you say online friend, what do you mean, from video games?
Yes, from video games. I know him real well.
Okay. How long have you known him?
Since like I was 10. 3 years.
3 years? Have you ever met him?
No, I've seen his face.
You seen his face?
Yeah.
So how did you communicate with him?
My cell phone.
Through your cell phone, so you have his number?
Yes.
And you don't have him stored under a certain name, or you have him stored under a gamer tag?
I made up a name for him.
You made up a name for him? What name did you make up?
Sweden.
Sweden?
Sweden. SWEEDEN.
Okay. How often do you talk to Sweden?
Every weekend.
Every weekend?
Yeah.
Okay. So you called Sweden. And what did you tell Sweden?
So I'm like,
what exactly did you tell Sweden when you say what I did?
I killed my mom.
Did you tell him how? Or no? How you killed her? Or no?
I think I told him how. No, I did not.
Okay.
I said I killed her.
Okay. Did you send them any pictures?
Yes.
How many pictures did you send them?
I sent them 2 of my mom and then 1 of me.
Okay. Did you... What did he tell you?
I said I couldn't believe it.
Okay. Does Sweden live down here in Florida?
Real far.
Real far?
Yeah. In America though.
Oh, in America?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you hung up the phone?
She said goodbye.
Okay. And then what did you do?
I was going to shoot myself, but I said I didn't want to do it, and I called 911.
Okay. And what did you tell 911?
See me couldn't bring the police officers here, I killed my mom.
Okay. And they kept you on the phone?
Yes, until the cops came.
Until the cops came. Do you remember what else you told Did you ever make your way to your sister? No. Touching her? No. No?
Absolutely not. She was sleeping and she didn't wake up, so I didn't touch her.
Okay. Alright. Let's get back to your mom. Okay, you said she was sleeping.
Yes.
Okay. Where exactly did you cut her?
At first, I cut her by here.
And her neck?
This is like that type of vein that goes to your neck right here on both sides.
Okay.
You stab here, blood shoots out right.
Do you know what that's called?
Like an artery or something.
An artery?
Yeah.
Okay. And you purposely went for the artery? When you
purposely went for the neck. That is artery.
Okay. Was there a lot of blood after?
There was a big ton of blood on the floor.
Okay. Did you tell her anything before you stabbed her? Did you say anything?
I said curse words in Spanish.
Curse words in Spanish?
Yes.
But she didn't wake up when you... She was asleep when you stabbed her?
Yes, and then she woke up after I stabbed her.
What curse words did you say?
In Spanish?
Yes.
Marico? Yes.
Okay. And then she woke up?
Yes.
Did you say anything else to her? Did she say anything to you or not?
She just screamed.
She just screamed?
Yes.
Why did you stab your mom?
Can you go to the bathroom before I answer that?
Yes, of course. Of course.
Give me 1 second.
You want to take that first?
I'll have control tank.
Yes, control tank. Make sure they're 5.5 on the water tank.
Where's the control? Where's the control? Down there, I'll help. Okay, I don't have my body and he needs to go to the bathroom.
Here, I'll go ahead and take them.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and take them.
Detective, after this, do you take him to the bathroom? Is this empty for a couple of minutes? The screen?
Yes.
And the purpose of saving time, is there any objection to me fast forwarding to when they come
Don't
back?
have any objection to advancing that to the next relevant portion.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Joe?
Yeah.
For the record, I'm now at 22 and 11.
One thing, you said it was your online friends, right? What type of console do you have? Do you play on the OS on the computer?
I play on a couple of consoles. There's an Xbox in the living room. I have a Switch in my room. I have a VR headset in my room too.
Okay. And what type of games do you play?
Mostly fighting shooter games.
Like what song?
Like Fortnite, Call of Duty.
Fortnite, Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your gamer tag?
Picture tag, Stock Tree.
What is it called?
Stock Tree.
Stock Tree?
1990.
Why'd you pick that?
Just
Can you spell that for me?
yes.
No.
STOCK. No space. Capital T.
No space?
No space. Capital T.
Okay.
REE. 1 9 9.
Another nine?
Yeah.
Okay.
0.
Okay, so that's it. Stock Tree 1990, right?
Yeah.
We'll take you back a little bit. Did you call anybody else other than your friend?
My daughter.
Okay. Did you post anything on social media?
No, no, I didn't know.
Okay. Do you have social media?
I have Discord.
Discord?
Yeah.
That's like a video game thing, right? What's Discord?
It's like WhatsApp.
WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Discord. DISCORD.
Yes.
Okay, what's your username on that?
Tim M-H-I-M.
Careful, H-I-M?
Yeah.
Okay.
Underscore.
Underscore?
Yeah.
Okay.
Forever.
Forever. Okay, do you have Instagram?
No.
No. Do you have WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't have Facebook, correct?
I have Facebook.
Okay, Facebook?
I'll use it on. I didn't need it from the headset.
Okay, what's your screen name on Facebook?
I use my name.
Your name?
Derek Rosa.
All straight?
Yeah. And with a space.
No space?
Space.
Derek, D-R-I-K?
No, D-E-R-E-K.
Oh, I'm sorry. Derek, space, Rosa?
Yes.
Okay, but nothing in between, just a space?
Yeah, no space.
Okay.
I'll do there. 13. And what grade is that? I forgot.
8th grade.
8th grade?
Yes.
Okay. When the police got there, did you say anything to the police? That you were
I asked about my sister.
You asked about your sister?
They said who was in there. I said my sister.
Okay. Did you say anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. So you were about to tell me the why. Why did you kill your mother? Do you know?
Say now.
Yeah, get it off your chest. Absolutely. Okay, at this point, you want a word? We can't. No, listen. Just so you understand, okay? You have mentioned or asked us, should you wait for a lawyer? We're not here to advise you on whether to talk to a lawyer or not. That decision is yours, okay? But if you are requesting a lawyer at this point, we can't interview you any further. And saying we have to stop the interview.
Okay.
Do you want us to stop the interview?
Yes.
Okay. Then this interview will end right now.
It is 3:05 a.m.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello. Oh, sorry, I couldn't see. Okay, detective, so I want to start with something that was discussed in this interview. So the defendant mentioned his cell phone. Do you know if that was located on scene and taken into custody?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And were you detectives able to look through the cell phone after you... Did you get a search warrant for that phone?
Yes, we did.
After you got a search warrant for the phone, were you able to look at the phone and look in the Google searches?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able to see some of the things that the defendant had just been searching on his Google?
Yes, on October 12 at 6 p.m., he did make searches on Google.
Okay. Now, where's that phone right now?
It is, I believe, with the Secret Service still. If not, it's at our impound, property impound.
Okay. So you still don't have the full results of the phone back, is that fair?
No, we're getting a full forensic download report from the Secret Service.
Understood. But before you gave it to the Secret Service, were you able to look in the search window to see the most recent searches?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what those last searches were?
Yes, I'm going to again refer here to my notes.
Did you write them down verbatim?
Yes.
Okay. What's the first one?
The
How
first-
many were there?
There were approximately 6.
Okay. Go ahead.
The first one, he typed in the word, the carotid artery image diagram.
Okay.
And after that, what is the best place to stab someone?
Okay, what's next?
Is a small knife good for killing?
What's next?
Is it easier to kill someone with a small knife?
What's next?
Can a knife cut through bone?
And the last one?
It was an image of a LMG machine gun.
Okay. The defendant also in the statement indicated to you that he sent 2 photographs of his mother to his friend. Were you able to confirm that in fact he did send photographs of his mother once she was deceased on scene to his friend?
Yes, they were located on his cell phone.
Okay, was there, were you also able to locate the photograph that he sent of himself to his friend?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as showing defense, what's been marked as states 1P.
Same objection, Your Honor.
Sorry, Judge.
Objection overruled.
Maybe a minute now, or do you want me to lay more
Leave predicate for authenticity, please.
And did you see that photograph yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of that photograph that he sent to his friend on his phone?
That is the photo he sent.
May I introduce 1P into evidence?
It's admitted.
Thank you, sir.
State's Exhibit 1P marked for ID will become State's Exhibit number 9.
Thank you. I can ask you more questions about that. Your Honor's already seen this, right? If there's anything you need me to publish, please let me know, Judge. Okay, detective. Later on in those early morning hours, was a search warrant received back to give you the authority to fully document the crime scene?
Yes.
Before that, I'm going to skip back a little bit. When the patrol officers arrived at the beginning of the night and took Derek into custody, was a sweep of the apartment done first?
Yes.
Okay. Was there anybody else other than Derek in the apartment?
No.
Okay. So are you sure there was nobody else in the apartment?
We are sure because we also have that backed up with a Ring camera that we...
So is there a Ring camera on the exterior door of the apartment 201?
Yes.
Okay. What about a baby? Wasn't there a baby in
There
the
was
apartment?
a baby in a crib laying in the crib next to the decedent.
Okay. And did Hialeah Police take the baby out?
Yes.
Okay. And what did they do with the baby at that point?
They took it out for safety reasons and handed it over, I believe, to rescue or something.
Okay. And other than that, was Irene Garcia there?
Yes.
Okay. And did they check that she was in fact deceased?
Yes.
Okay, and at that point, did everybody leave, and was that secured and locked down waiting for a search warrant?
Yes, once the officers made some observations, we used that to gather facts for the search warrant.
Okay. So you did receive a search warrant. At some point that morning on the 13th, did you enter that apartment?
Yes.
And did you look around the apartment, at the crime scene, in Derek's room, etc.?
Yes.
Did you stay there while the scene was documented and photographed?
Yes, I stayed there while photographs were taken.
While you were there, did someone from the medical examiner's office become an investigator as well as a doctor?
Yes.
Okay. And is it the medical examiner's practice and your experience that they take their own photographs as well?
Yes.
Okay. Have you reviewed all of those in your capacity as the lead detective on this case?
Yes.
For efficiency's sake, I'm gonna just
Can you take a
name.
look at all of them?
Yes, sir.
Talking about the Emmys photos here?
Yes, sir.
That's
The
not
scene. Not of the autopsy, just the scene.
The Emmys report, has that been prepared?
Yes, Judge. It was complete. Yes.
I don't get a whole lot of relevance out of these. I do out of this, but I don't out of these. I would be just as well served if I had a description of the injuries as the medical examiner usually gives, because then I can tell depth of the wound, number of wounds, etc. These are little more that really need to be in evidence to prove, I think, the narrow issue that you're looking at.
There's the only relevance argument I want to make towards those. Well, there's a few. First, I think all of the evidence about the attack and Detective Velosky can describe, because he was present for the autopsy and he did see Miss Garcia in the way that she's pictured in those photographs, is relevant because of the force, because we talked about the physicality and size and strength of the defendant, as well as for a secondary argument of, even if you can send Mr. Rosa back to the Department of Juvenile Justice custody, that we believe that the degree and nature of those injuries demonstrate what a danger he would be to the other juveniles that are already housed there. I didn't, at the time of our last hearing, the autopsy report was not complete. It is now complete. I don't have a business record certificate for it. However, the detective was present while so can't really introduce it through him, even though he was present. I could just ask him questions, Judge, based off of that. But there's another argument of relevance specifically to the photograph. I don't know which letter it is where it shows her legs.
You're probably talking about what's been marked as 1H. Actually, can I have you guys come sidebar just for a minute?
Okay.
Email address if you like. I think Carlos received there. Cool.
I did send it to him already because I
Oh,
have
that's
that
fine.
email. Oh, okay.
I think it's fine. Because we're just gonna print it out in copies for you and me and defense and,
We're not, the defense is supposed to, if we give it to them, we have to take it back because the medical examiner's office insists that the defense get the material directly from them. We're not even allowed to give it out.
how do I put it in, how does it become an exhibit?
Well, it could be an exhibit. It could be an exhibit for your eyes only. I'm telling you, Judge, we're not allowed to disseminate it.
Because the ME doesn't want to disseminate it until they have a full report, or they provide.
No, because
the Dale Earnhardt law is the exception.
Yeah, the Dale Earnhardt law.
Statute that
the defense has to contact. We actually make it available by the defense contacting them. The defense pays for it. The defense gets all the autopsy photos, which is why the autopsy photos are never given in discovery ever.
Okay, I've got it. All right, give me a minute. I want to check something in chambers, and we're going to wrap up with this witness, and that'll be it for the day. Okay. All right. Give me a minute.
while he's doing that, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick. Okay?
All rise.
All right. Just start out with this photos to me again.
Oh, do I have one? Yes. Sidebar. Sorry. Here's one more, sorry. Here's the other one. Those two are already in. Okay.
Which particular wounds did you want to urge were probative on this issue?
The closer one of the neck area from the carotid and the thigh wounds for the premeditation, as well as, well, those were on that issue. On the others for the physicality, I think you're talking just specifically about those.
So you're objecting. I'm going to allow you to do it through the office so you can describe the wounds that were examined by the medical examiner in his presence. You're objecting to the use of the medical examiner's report because you believe it's privileged in some fashion.
Well, Judge, I'd say that if your honor orders it, so normally what happens is we tell the defense you can get an order which we don't object to have the disclosure of all of those things. So I think we're not objecting to it coming in. I think just you'd have to order us to disclose it for this purpose, for us to be able to do it legally.
The problem is, Your Honor, that we don't even send it in discovery, which is why I was going to say for the purposes of the protective order, it's not a problem because the press would never get it because we don't send it anything, the autopsy report or the autopsy photos of any kind to the defense. They are required to go to the medical, because they're a party. We have to sanction it. We say there's the case pending. Then the medical examiner knows that they can come to the medical examiner's office and they can request it. They pay for it, but they get it only them, only the defense. So the only parties that get that information prior to trial, at least, you know, when it becomes a matter of total record, is us and the defense.
Okay. All right, well then let's do it this way. You're seeking to put in 1G, that's a knife and some other items that were found at the scene through this detective. That's fine. The photographs, these graphic photographs of wounds and the scene, I'm not going to take in this proceeding. The detective can, and for the marginal relevance that there is in terms of the wounds, types, number of wounds, and how they were inflicted, I'll take that through the detective.
Understood, sir.
Okay? All right. These will stay in the file because they're marked already in case I'm wrong and somebody else wants to look at them. But other than the other objections you had, Mr. Lewis, with regard to 1G photo of the knife and the items on the dresser counter, do you have any objections other than relevance on these?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to admit that over your objection. That's 1G is admitted. These others are not admitted. All right.
States 1G marked for ID will become State's Exhibit number 10.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, detective. So we were just discussing that you entered the crime scene, you were able to see the crime scene. Did you stay there until Ms. Garcia's body was taken by the NB's office?
I stayed there pretty much till the end, you know?
Okay, so at the end of that, once the crime scene was fully documented, was her body removed from the scene?
Yes.
Okay, where was it taken?
It was taken to the Miami-Dade Medical Examiner office.
Before we talk about that, I want to show you what's in evidence as State's Exhibit 10. Do you remember seeing this that night?
Yes.
Okay. What room was this in the apartment?
I believe it was inside the victim's room. If I'm not mistaken, I remember seeing it on top of the counter.
Are you sure it wasn't in the defendant's room?
Objection.
It could have been
suggestive.
No, I said I don't remember. I can tell you it was on top of a counter.
Do you remember whose keys these were?
Yes, those are the defendant's keys.
Okay. And do you remember where you saw those keys?
Those keys were
asked and answered.
Overruled. Those keys, I believe, were in his room when we did this search.
And not to state the obvious, but is this a purple knife of about the same size that he had just shown you in the interview room?
Yes, it's a knife with blood on it, yes.
And at the tip of the knife, do you see anything unusual about that?
Yes, the tip was missing.
Okay, so now let's get back to the medical examiner's office. Did you yourself go to the medical examiner's office relating to this case?
Yes.
Is it normal practice in a homicide for the medical examiner or a doctor at the medical examiner's office to perform an autopsy on a murder victim?
Yes.
Okay. Were you actually present in the room during the entire autopsy?
Right by the doctor.
And in this case, do you remember it was a fellow Dr. Cornell and another doctor, right?
Yes, Cornell, yes.
And not to get into too much detail, but do you remember about how tall the victim was?
I would say the victim is fairly short.
Okay.
You know?
Would you consider her a petite woman?
Yes, very short.
Did you discuss the wounds on Ms. Garcia with the doctor?
I discussed and I saw them.
Okay. Let's start with, did the doctor tell you what the cause of death was?
Yes, it was a multiple blunt, sharp wound.
Was it sharp force wounds or blunt force wounds?
It was really sharp force wounds. I'd have to check the autopsy thing, but I believe it was sharp force wounds.
So let's talk about the evidence of injury. Let's start with, I'm going to show you actually what's, go back 1 second. So when you were in the apartment, did you see a baby monitor in the victim's room?
Yes.
Okay. Did your police department get a search warrant for the SD card or whatever, the card that's inside the baby monitor?
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen images captured on the baby monitor?
I saw an image that was sent to me by the stepfather, Frank Ramos, initially, and then on the baby monitor there was one image.
Okay, and was that essentially some of the basis for the probable cause for why you wanted to search the baby monitor?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to show you what's been marked as 1B, Mr. Lewis. Okay. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of one of the pictures from the baby monitor?
Yes.
Okay. And then 1C, is this a fair and accurate depiction of the other image?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, the state moves 1B and C indictments.
Your objection is relevance?
Relevance, authenticity, and 403.
Okay, so what is the relevance of these?
Judge, the
For
relevance...
the issue that I'm addressing here, where he's to be detained pending a trial, what do these offer to that?
So Judge, relating to that has been made relevant well, now we've had testimony about his educational abilities, his physical abilities, his emotional abilities, the nature of the premeditation, and how the attack happened. The state believes is very relevant to how the injuries occurred. The beginning of the attack is what we believe is depicted in, I'm not sure which image is, the image that Mr. Rosa is in, goes to the nature of premeditation, and also in our mind the coldness and the calculation combined with the searches and other things from his phone, which also go to why we believe that if you are using discretion in deciding the safest, best place for him to be housed, that it would be a danger to the other juveniles for him.
No, I'm not going to decide what's the safest, best place for him to be housed. What's at issue now is whether his constitutional rights are being violated by him being housed in the adult facility. The statutes require him to be in the adult facility. Right. But the case law in this district say that I am allowed to look at any potential constitutional violations on an individual prisoner basis. So what does this prove about his current state of detention?
So in addition to the statute that we agree says that he's to be housed as an adult, it's been made relevant in this hearing previously, the evidentiary hearing that was had on another case of a juvenile, the Christian Fernandez case, and the order that was given and put a part of this record had 4 things that Your Honor had indicated, and defense referenced it earlier on their directs, indicated that were relevant to your inquiry in a similar evidentiary hearing. So while the state believes that the law is very clear and that we don't need to go into all of that, since the defense is going into all of those factors about, they're focusing on the 2 about DJJ's position and the custody status. The other 2 were, one was his physicality, and the 4th was emotional and psychological understanding, and I just think it's relevant. I understand Your Honor doesn't, but I think it's relevant to that.
Excellent argument. Sustained.
Okay, sir. Okay, so let me just see if there were any other exhibits, Judge. Everything else is in but those at this point, and the photographs that we just wrote on, right? Sorry, Judge, just 1 second.
We also have an inmate information, like 1U that has not been entered.
Okay.
And we have a rotation schedule that has not been entered.
Not super relevant in this moment, Judge, but we had shown counsel previously the state's 1U commissary logs, and I believe they had no objection.
What is that?
These were just the commissary logs that earlier were mentioned, but there's no objection anymore if we could just move those.
Sure. Do you have any objections? No, Your Honor.
Okay, so that'll be 3.
Thank you.
Okay. State's Exhibit 1B marked for ID will become State's Exhibit 11. State's Exhibit 1C marked for ID will become State's Exhibit 12. And State's Exhibit 1U marked for ID will become State's Exhibit 13.
Okay. So, Detective, I'm going to talk about the autopsy and injuries now, and I'm going to try and sum it up, okay, instead of going through each and every one together, okay? Is it fair to say that there were 46 sharp force wounds in total on Ms. Garcia's body?
Sorry, did you say 46?
46, sir, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's discuss the front.
Do you want to see any of these?
Is it...
You want to see any of these? Okay.
Were there wounds to her face?
Yes.
Okay. Were there multiple wounds to her face, including eyes, mouth, ears?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move down to the neck area. Did she have multiple wounds in her neck area?
Yes.
Okay. Gonna move further down. Did she have other injuries and wounds to the front of her chest, north of her belly button, between her belly button and her neck?
Yes.
Did the doctors discuss with you that the stab wounds to the front of the chest are likely the wounds that resulted in her death?
Yes.
And is that because they discussed that the wounds that were from the front, that those wounds cut off branches of the windpipe leading to her lungs, and that those wounds resulted in that much bleeding and her inability to breathe?
Yes.
Okay. Were there any other wounds to the front part of her body? Other areas of the front part of her body that had knife wounds?
Were you talking about the entire front or
the front. So we talk face,
face,
neck, chest, north of the belly button.
Okay. Okay.
Any other wounds that you recall on the front of her body?
She had defensive wounds on her hands.
Okay, so then let's talk about the hands. So when you witnessed the autopsy and you, in conversation, doctor, you noticed wounds on her hands, both hands?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Other than those, anything else in the front?
Not in the front. We're gonna then categorize the back area and the legs, right?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing else in the front.
Okay, so for those general areas, I think that's sufficient for that.
Yeah.
So did you also, were you able to see the back of her body?
Yes.
I'm going to start from the bottom this time. Were there any wounds on her legs from the knees down?
Knees down, I don't remember any.
Okay, do you remember any wounds on her knees, on her legs at all?
Yes.
Okay. What do you recall?
I remember 2 separate wounds that run along the inner thigh on each side of the leg and the general area of the femoral artery.
Okay, so 2 sharp force wounds on each upper thigh on the inside near the femoral.
Yes.
Okay. Other than that, were all the other wounds in the back of her body from, let's say, the lower back up to the head?
Lower, yes, she had on the other on her back. She had numerous stab wounds. Yes.
So we'll get to that. So, but is it fair to say that according to what you witnessed, that there was very little blood left in her chest cavity or internal cavities when the autopsy began?
Objection, Your Honor. He's not a medical examiner.
And that really doesn't go to the specific issues that I'm interested in doing.
He's not an expert.
Okay. And that was the infliction of the wounds, and as you offered the type of strength necessary to do that.
Okay, yes, sir. So, were there numerous wounds in her back?
Yes.
Did you notice that those wounds went through skin?
Yes.
Did they go through muscle?
Yes.
Did they go through internal organs?
Yes.
Okay. Were there also other sharp force wounds to the back of her neck?
Yes.
And let's get to her head. Were there sharp force wounds in the back of her head?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Did you witness the doctor remove a piece of metal from the back of Arena's skull?
Yes.
Okay. And did you witness the divot left in the back of her skull from that?
I saw when she removed it, and I impounded that little tip as evidence.
Okay. And you were just looking at State's Exhibit, thank you, State's Exhibit 10. Since we obviously don't have that piece of evidence with us, did it look like it was the size of the tip of the knife that's broken?
It was consistent.
Okay. 1 second, Judge, please. One second, Your Honor. No further questions for Detective Lasky at this time.
Cross-examination. And what I'm going to do for our purposes, Ms. Morales, I'm going to have you vacate that
Oh, yes, sir.
podium so that Ms. Riello can work off of that podium.
You would like me to go over there, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am, because of the microphone situation.
Not a problem, Judge. Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
How are you, sir?
Good.
Help me with the pronunciation of your last name.
Elosegi.
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 Elosegi. Okay. Detective, how many years have you been a homicide detective?
21 years.
Okay. And how many interviews of this nature have you conducted?
Of this nature?
Yes.
Homicide interviews?
Yes.
God, hundreds and hundreds.
At least 500?
I would say, at least a couple of hundred.
Okay. How many of 13-year-olds being investigated for first-degree murder?
This right here is my first 13-year-old.
Okay. And what was your understanding as to the purpose of your testimony this afternoon, or today, on today's day?
Objection to relevance.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What was his understanding as to why he was called to testify today? Why did he understand that he had to testify? I don't understand how that's relevant.
Sustained.
What did you do to prepare to be here this afternoon?
What I reviewed notes that I had. I reviewed body cam, and I have a lot of remembers of what happened.
Is this your only case that you're working?
Objection to relevance.
Where are we going, Ms. Riello?
Judge, I'd like to know specifically if he's just relying on his memory, if he's talking about he looked at notes, what notes he's looked at, what did he do to prepare for his testimony?
I think he just told you. He reviewed some body-worn camera. What else did you review, officer?
I reviewed the body cam, the notes of my. You see, the reports are being memorialized And we're still adding on to the reports, so they're not complete where I can bring a report to court here.
Do you have access to them by way of computer though, as your people are compiling them?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Did you review the reports from your other officers?
Yes, everything, yes.
All right. So you're the lead detective?
Yes.
You're the repository of all of the reports and information of all of your officers?
Yes.
Okay. This attorney wants to know what you reviewed before you came in today.
I reviewed, I read the supplements of other officers. I reviewed my supplement up to date, and body cam, and everything.
Do you know if what you reviewed the defense has?
Objection, Judge.
Let me ask this. I'll withdraw that question, Your Honor.
Okay.
What you reviewed, have you turned that over to the state attorney's office?
No, I have not.
Okay. How many times did you meet with the state attorney's office?
Well,
Judge, I'm going to continue to object to relevance.
One moment.
Yes, sir.
What's your next question?
What question did I just ask, or what would
Now, I'll tell you what, if you would like, I'll set this hearing for 6 months. You can take depositions, get all the reports, and be in a complete position. I'm expediting this process for the benefit of your client. Discovery in a case like this can take a year or 2. In this courthouse, I've seen homicide squads take a year to prepare their reports. So, I guess what you're asking him about whether he's turned this over to you or not, is a very little moment for me. As I said again, I'm expediting these proceedings for the benefit of your client. So the fact that you don't have these reports, I got it, I understand. What's your point?
Thank you, Judge. Other than reports, what else, if anything, detective, did you review?
Reports, body cam.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you interview any witnesses?
I interviewed witnesses. I interviewed the defendant's father and numerous witnesses. His school kids that go to school with him.
Okay. Part of the reason you're here today is to establish Derek's maturity level to some degree.
Objection.
Grant.
Judge, why the state has, asking him why he's here to establish certain things is about what the state's doing. We just called him, we just subpoenaed him. You know, he's just here in response to a subpoena. I don't see the relevance of what his understanding of the legal issues in this hearing are.
Okay, let me do it this way. Ms. Rielli, you started your question with, you're assuming you're here because of. I don't know if that's why he's here, but if you want to ask him what he knows about the mental state of your client or physical abilities or the things that you believe are relevant, ask him, what do you know about A, B, or C? Can we do it that way?
Yes.
Thank you.
Judge, detective, based on hundreds of interviews that you've conducted, the amount of years that you have in the force, do you believe that you can provide an opinion as to Derek's maturity?
Objection, compound evidence, and calls for expert testimony.
Judge, we're asking him to testify as to depth of wounds, like trajectory of wounds. We're asking
him. I was hoping to get that from what the enemy said, but I've got it. And I'll tell you what, this issue could come up later when we talk about the voluntariness of the confession. I'll let that question go ahead.
You may answer, sir.
As far as my evaluation, I not only have worked homicide, I've also worked with juveniles in the juvenile unit. Derek, in my opinion, is very smart. He answered the questions directly, and I think that he is a very smart person that understood everything.
Okay. Let's go to a couple pieces of what you assumed he understood. Can you Judge, I'm going to fast forward. It's 30 seconds to 2:42 in the morning.
Sorry?
Can we use?
You want me to play my.
You don't
I
need to
have
play.
it. It's not in there. It's in the court file now.
Judge, Mr. Lewis specifically asked Ms. Morales if...
No,
Oh, not Ms. Morales.
anything.
I apologize. Ms. Ho, if you could...
Judge, I asked ahead of time to avoid this situation because I
I will
figured it
help
would
you,
come up.
but like you need to. I didn't know that. So
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Well,
Just
I'm
say
talking to you.
May I have the
Let me see if I
exhibit?
got it straight.
Yes,
They'd
sir.
like to play a portion of the video that you played.
Right, yes, sir.
So they can ask the.
I can do that. I just
about
wasn't.
that.
If I'd known
Let's
it
see if
would
we
have
can
been.
facilitate that.
I told her we would do
Yeah.
that.
Let's all work together, everybody.
It's not like that's okay. I gave it back. There's only just get it set up now. It'll take a second. When did you say?
The time frame, Mr. Mayor.
2:42 in the morning, Ms. Morales, if you'd like. Mr. Lewis can do it if you don't have
No,
time.
my computer. I'll do it. Thank you.
No problem.
Give me a second. 242 up here or 242 on the timestamp at the bottom?
2:42 at the top, 2:42 in the morning.
I want you.
Version of any kind that
Right there?
Yes, you can start right there.
used against me, okay? If there's,
Okay, this is the formal language, okay? Now, I want you to follow, actually to read here. Okay, read this little dot right here. Yes.
Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights.
Okay, you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and initial this little dot for me. It means that you understand that. Yeah, it's your initials.
I have initials as your name.
Okay, whatever.
So you heard when Derek, in response to your question, just initial right here, if you understand, his response was, I don't have initials, I just have a name. Did you hear him answering that?
Yeah, I heard him answer that.
Okay, and that to you is intelligent, answering correctly, and understanding what he's doing?
He's understanding what he's doing because he is.
I'm not asking you why, sir.
Ma'am,
I'm answering the question.
You ask him a question, he'll be allowed to respond to.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
He understood what I was telling him because he was complying with the thing. As a matter of you saying that, he doesn't know his initials or anything, I don't see anything. We're talking about him understanding that he understood. So I think he's intelligent, yes.
I didn't say that, sir. He said that. He said, I don't have initials. I just write my name. Moving on to the next one. Ms. Morales, if you can fast forward, please, to 244.
Okay, you understand that? Go ahead.
Assuming if you still have
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
the right to stop answering at any time or until you talk to a lawyer.
Okay, go ahead and initial right there. Okay, now read this whole paragraph.
I have read this statement of my rights and I understand what my rights are. I am willing to make this statement and answer questions. I do not want a lawyer at this time. I understand and know what I'm doing. No promises or threats have been made to me. No pressure or persistent
Coercion, that's that we're forcing you to do something. You understand? Whatever you're doing on your own voluntarily basis, making an educated decision
Can we
for
stop
yourself.
right there, Ms.
Okay?
Morales? So at 244:40, you have to explain to Derek what coercion is, right?
I've had adults, yes, and I've had adults that I've had to explain that word. That's not a common word per se. So yes, I did explain it to him.
Okay. Now, not only did you explain it to him, but you had to help him pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't pronounce the word, right?
Coercion is a word, like I say, that I've helped other people with. It's not.
That's not my question. You couldn't pronounce the word, correct?
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Moving on, Ms. Morales, if we can go to 245 at 38, please.
Is someone that can represent you in legal.
Ms. Morales, can we go to 245 at 36, please? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm just going to do it 38 because...
Thank you.
As an attorney, if you do, go ahead and sign right here. An attorney is someone.
So you also had to explain to him what an attorney was.
Yes, we cleared it with lawyer, which he does know.
I'm sorry, I don't know what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that we then told him an attorney was a lawyer and he understood.
And we is yourself.
Myself.
And Detective Gonzalez.
Yes.
And there was actually a third police presence in the room, right? The young lady to the far corner, taking notes.
No, there wasn't another police presence.
Who was standing right here? I confess. Do you remember who was standing? Not you. Not Miss
It's me.
It was the state.
That was me.
Okay. Okay. So there was a third person in the room.
Yes.
Okay. Now, can we fast forward, Ms. Morales, to 247, please?
Derek, can you state your full name for the record? Yeah, everything, full name.
Derek Stephen Rosa.
What's your date of birth?
August 26, 2010.
What's your address?
I have no address.
Okay. What's your telephone number? You don't know either?
No.
Okay. What type of phone do you?
Now, at this point, he's telling you he doesn't know his address, right? And he doesn't know his phone number.
Yes.
And it is still your testimony, and I imagine your opinion, that he was and is an intelligent, was answering correctly, and understood what you were doing, what you were asking of him.
When taking the whole interview into context, yes, he was. He understood. He answered questions and everything.
My question, sir, when he tells you that he doesn't know his address and he doesn't know his phone number, that didn't raise a flag in you, maybe this person, maybe this kid doesn't know what he's doing. You never thought that?
No.
You always maintained that he was intelligent, knew what he was doing, and he was doing so informed, right?
During the whole context of the interview, again, I interpret it as knowing what he was doing and intelligent.
Including this?
No,
Ma'am,
taking piece by piece.
Excuse me. You guys got that? Move on to your next area, please.
Yes. My last, actually, I'm going to go back a little bit, Ms. Morales, if you don't mind, to 245, please. And don't play it, just pause it if you don't mind at 245.
I'm trying.
And thank you for helping me.
Just gonna leave it 3 seconds earlier.
Okay. Now, you've conducted hundreds of interviews.
Yes.
How many would you say involved, you already told me not a 13-year-old, but juvenile?
Quite a bit.
Would you say that you are versed on the law as far as when someone is confessing an incident to you and what you can and cannot say to them? What would be an accurate statement of the law? What would be an inaccurate statement of the law?
Objection, compound question.
Okay. My apologies.
Compound question. One sustained.
Would you say that you're versed on the law? Period.
All right, where are we going, Matt? Is there a specific thing that you would like to point out that he said or did that's relevant to the determination that I'm supposed to make in this case. If you would, go ahead and proffer it to me, ma'am, because it's 5:40 in the afternoon, and I don't want to take more time dancing around a cross-examination.
Okay.
Tell me what it is you expect him to say to you now. What area are you going into?
The detective says to Derek, if you want a chance to explain yourself, the only way we would be able to take your statement is if you agree to talk to us without the presence of
All right, will you raise that when you move to suppress the statement, ma'am, okay? It's a marginal and absolutely no relevance at all to the determination I'm about to make once I get all the evidence here.
Can I ask him if he knows if that's an accurate fact of law?
Not right now, ma'am.
Okay. All right, I'll move on. Give me a second to gather my thoughts here. Okay, so I want to talk about a little bit of your testimony relating to the still shot from the baby cam. First of all, have you seen is there footage? Is there baby cam footage? Baby cam footage.
Not to my knowledge, only stills.
Okay. Now, have you heard the unredacted 911 call?
I've heard the 911 call.
The unredacted 911 call.
I believe so.
Okay. Does the FBI have the unredacted 911 call?
Objection, relevance.
Judge, apparently the FBI has the either forensic dumping or the phone itself. That was his testimony. I'd like to know what other evidence is not in Hialeah Police Department's custody and control.
What does that have to do with the issues in this hearing?
Well, Judge, he was testifying as to premeditation or evidence that, this is something really planned out. And part of his testimony was that he, Derek, typed or searched X amount of words and searches on his phone. I want to know how he knows that those searches were conducted by Derek.
I guess we'll find that out in discovery now, but it's a little moment to me right now.
Okay.
As I've said to you guys about 20 times now, I want to focus on the conditions of his detention to determine if they violate his constitutional rights. Where the evidence is being forensically examined right now doesn't take me anywhere on that question.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome,
ma'am. In terms of the medical examination, do you know anything about depth of wounds?
The depth of the wounds?
Yes, sir.
I was there when they were doing the autopsy, and I got to see when they actually pulled the skin back, and the doctor explained to me that it hit organs and organs and organs.
Do you have any specialized training to know depth of wounds? You yourself, without somebody else telling you?
I'm not a doctor, if that's what you're asking.
No, that's not what I'm asking.
Well,
I'm asking if you have any specialized training to know on your own, without another person telling you, the depth of a wound.
Well, visually, you could see if a wound or an injury goes through skin, and if it hits the organ, you can make an estimation. But other than visual.
Okay. Can you also visually identify the force needed to create certain wounds?
It depends if it strikes a bone or not.
And you could tell that visually, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you have any expertise to determine what's a defensive wound or offensive wound?
May I just inquire if I can go back? Do you still need this, Ms. Riella, or can I go back to my table?
No, I do not. Thank you, Ms. Morales. Do you have the expertise to determine what is a defensive or offensive wound?
I have handled many homicides and or stabbings, and I am talking to you from experience that I know what a defensive wound is in a knife attack.
So that's yes? You do have that experience?
Well, it's experience on the job dealing with it many times. I don't have the medical explanations, but I can tell you what's consistent with a defense wound.
Okay. Is one of the witnesses that you interviewed Mr. Frank Ramos?
Frank Ramos, I interviewed him or dealt with him before. Initially, I don't think I interviewed him initially. I interviewed the defendant's father.
Now, have you met Mr. Ramos prior to this incident?
No.
Okay. And since the incident, how often do you speak?
Objection to relevance.
Judge, the detective testified that he received the still shot from Ramos. The detective also, if we recall, on the 22nd of November, took his personal cell phone to Mr. Ramos's home for a Zoom meeting. I think everybody remembers that, right?
Yes.
Do you remember
I think
that?
he appeared on a cell phone.
His cell phone, correct.
For us,
Okay.
at your Honor's request,
Right.
he drove over there to do it.
When I asked the detective to drive over and find him so we could take testimony from him as to whether he agreed to you entering his apartment for an inspection.
Okay.
Okay. And where are we going with this?
Have you relayed any of the findings to Mr. Ramos?
Judge, I have an
Wait a
objection
minute.
pending.
Now we're on a new question.
Right.
Yes.
All right, let me hear your question then.
Yes, Judge. I don't want to talk about the cell phone anymore. He took his cell phone. Your Honor asked. He said yes. The evidence, the investigation, the course of the investigation. Have you revealed details to Mr. Ramos about it?
Absolutely not.
So you never told Mr. Ramos that
Objection to
there were 46
relevance.
evidence?
I'm sorry. What would be the relevance of that? I'll allow you to respond to her objection.
I'd like to know, Your Honor, any type of bias or any type of why would Mr. Ramos know that there were X amount of stab
No, we
wounds?
don't have anything in this record which would indicate that Mr. Ramos knows there were X amount of stab wounds. Move on to your next question now.
Do you know if Mr. Ramos would know what the search is on the phone?
Objection to relevance. I mean, for this hearing, all of this is irrelevant.
No, this is staying. Next question, please.
I think I'm done. Give me one moment, Your Honor. Oh, okay. I think I'm done. Thank you, Detective.
Thank you.
Any redirect?
Yes, sir, thank you.
One lawyer.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Mr. Lewis.
But in the future, don't hesitate to bring her notes about questions that you think she might want to ask during the examination. Is there anything else you have of this witness that you want to ask of this witness, Mr. Rayl?
Yes.
Okay, let's get it done.
Judge, I can streamline it a lot faster if I just ask the questions because those are my notes. That's why I understand your policy, Judge. Shouldn't take long. I'd have to tell her what my notes mean.
It's really deciphering his handwriting. When you were interviewing Derek, did you have your gun?
Objection to relevance.
Okay, ma'am, a lot of these things that you're raising here, Mr. Lewis, are things that I would hear ordinarily if you were arguing that his confession or his statements were not voluntary or constitutionally taken, but I'm really much more interested in focusing on the circumstances of his detention. So I'm thinking this goes a bit far afield. I wanted to give you guys a full opportunity to put as much evidence as you thought was relevant into the record. This is not. It's a standard.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much. Any redirect?
Yes,
That's not a request that you redirect. It's just an...
I'll be very brief, Judge. I know it's late. I'm trying to be as succinct as possible. Do 13-year-olds have driver's licenses with their addresses on them?
No.
Was the phone that you impounded belonging to Mr. Rosa a smartphone?
I believe it was, yes.
Are numbers saved in that?
Yes.
In your experience with adults, are there often times when somebody doesn't know a phone number because they saved them? They don't know it by heart?
Yes.
At any point when you were speaking with Mr. Rosa and he didn't understand something, did you explain it?
Yes.
And did he seem to you to understand what you explained?
Yes.
Just 1 second, Judge. No further questions.
Thank you very much, Detective.
Judge, can I ask one question? Regarding that explanation, I have one question.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Well, what's your question?
My question is, did you explain anything to Derek outside of what we viewed here, outside of this interview?
No.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Detective.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're going to close down today. Good for now.
Can we release him of his subpoena so he doesn't have to come back when we finish?
Does anyone need the detective tomorrow?
They didn't subpoena him, we did, but we don't.
Give me 1 moment, Your Honor, please.
You check.
We'll release him, or not release him, it's on our subpoena. We don't need
You don't need to have any, thank you. All right, so let's go over what we're doing tomorrow because we're going to close out the evidentiary portion of this exercise tomorrow. We're going to do the school people from the jail on Zoom through Corporal Williams tomorrow at 8:30. Hopefully we'll get them done within a half an hour, 45 minutes with a big calendar. At 1:30 will be Maldonado if we can track Counselor Maldonado down and get her on the screen. And then when you get here, we'll do Dr. Cooper's. Okay.
And Judge, my only question is, could defense maybe either could you email us with the doctor's email on it so we can send a Zoom meeting for tomorrow morning and we discuss it?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you two to set up a Zoom interview with him tomorrow. You can do it as a deposition, you can do it as an interview. Obviously, if you intend, and you've told me, you intend to present opinions from him regarding this young man's mental health, then they're entitled to figure out what they received or what they used in reaching those opinions, and that's what tomorrow's about.
No problem. Thank you, Your Honor.
Just to confirm, you'll be sending us tonight whatever it is you sent to Dr. Cooper to review.
Well,
Cooper?
His email address is on his CV.
Okay, great.
So, and I'm hoping you guys will coordinate to get that done so that we don't have to deal with it after.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Let's send each other.
Are we going to do this at...
Yes.
No, because I don't have enough.
Okay, I was going to ask, 8:30?
No. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching today, and be looking out for part 2. Hopefully we get more video from the evidentiary hearing, but the confession and the testimony of the lead detective I thought was really important. So let me know what you think in the comments section below, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists for more true crime content. And if that's not enough, you can join our Patreon. Don't have a tinfoil hat? It's okay. We'll make you one. It's that easy. See you guys in the next one.